Welcome back to another episode of the Slaying Self Doubt Podcast. It's your girl, Felicia Wallace. As always, welcome all the new and continued listeners. I don't know how you got here, if it was by way of a solo episode or you were listening to one of your friends' episodes and you was like, oh, okay, I like her and I'm going to continue to listen. I want to thank you for continuously showing up. I did notice that this month, because I've been honoring some women who were brave enough to share their self doubt journey on the show, that y'all are sticking around. Okay, y'all are sticking around. So thank you so much. It's just a continued confirmation for me that I just need to continue to do this. So this week's wins. First of all, we had 22,000 downloads. Whoop, whoop. I am so grateful that like y'all just keep showing up. Again, it's just continued confirmation that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm just thankful. I told y'all my goal was to hit 50,000 by the end of this year, and we are well on our way. Okay, so we need 38,000 more, y'all. 38,000 more. So just keep listening. Keep listening. On Friday, I was able to participate in a women's history celebration event with Charlize Tyson, who's also been on the show before and who I also honored this month as well. And it was such a I don't know, it's just a joyous occasion, right? Like if you've been listening to these episodes, if you've been listening to me for a while, you know that very much so that I've had a difficulty with celebrating myself. I'm down for celebrating other people and like hyping other people up, but when it comes to me, a lot of times I'm like, oh, I'm just you downplay it, right? And I am learning that I have to celebrate every single moment, and I want to celebrate every single moment. So when she asked me to be a part of it, initially I was like, who, me? Y'all know, because that's how I be. Um, and I did it and I felt good about it because I was like, you really have done something here, right? Like you really are working. I was having a conversation with somebody else that a lot of times, which we'll talk about in this episode, that a lot of times we're looking at money to be the celebration, like, oh, you made your first, six figures or your four figures or your three figures, whatever. You are like, you're looking for monetary stuff. And sometimes it's just the fact that you kept going. And so for me, I really had to take that moment to be able to say that despite not being where I want to be or where I thought I was supposed to be, I'm not where I was, and it's forward movement. So I was so happy to be a part of that. And also the inspiration of the other women who were on that live just made me want to keep going, right? Because I'm like, I want those wins too. I want to be able to say, that listen, I've been doing this for X amount of time and blah blah blah. Like I want the big wins as well, but you got to start somewhere. And so I'm just grateful that I have the opportunity to be able to share the wins that I have, and to be able to share it with people who are also doing the same thing and walking in purpose. So it was an amazing thing, and definitely follow Shalice. Like she is a glow getter, and she is out here just empowering and impacting other women through her brand. And yeah, you gotta stay connected to her. Okay, so the announcements for this week is, y'all, I was out of order before, but me and the Lord had a conversation, and He told me you're going to do it this way, right? So merchandise will be back. I am working on releasing control of it, right? Because remember, initially this merchandise thing was like, oh, I can do it, whatever have you, blah 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 blah. But it didn't really work out the way I thought it was going to work because I I was minding, I wasn't minding my business, okay? And so I put it on pause for a couple of months, and I just allowed the God to just like tell me what he wanted me to, because I knew it was something I was supposed to do. It just was a matter of how I was doing it. And y'all know I'm moving, I keep jumping ahead, right? And so it will be back within the second quarter of this year. So prepare for it. We're going to have shirts, we're going to have sweatshirts, we'll have hats, we'll have phone cases. It's going to be a nice combination of things, and it is going to be done in order and not in my hands. I have released the control over that. So yeah, so over these past couple of weeks, I feel like that I came into this. we don't do seasons here, but I came into this time or 2021 wanting to really talk about like identifying your purpose and figuring out how it shows up in different areas of your life. And it was with intention, right? So the intention was is that going into 2021, I was very clear about the fact that God wants me to coach. And I've said this to you all plenty of times. One of the things that has been, I guess, difficult, if I would say, is that I didn't realize that I needed to pivot my entire mindset, and in addition to that, like my like rebranding, or in some ways like rebranding, that I'm not just a podcaster, right? Because as much as I enjoy doing it, this is not what God this is a part of what God called me to do, but what he called me to do is to coach. And so when I really came into it, I was like, all right, I want to let's go, let's do this and let's talk about that. And it definitely was in alignment with what he wanted me to do. And so I'm grateful that we had the conversation, and then a shift kind of happened in my personal life that I didn't move forward. I stopped. So the celebration of the 2 years of podcasting came up, and then other things were happening, and so I just was kind of going through the motions, right? And so it kind of reverted back to not being like specific episodes, but just like what was happening at that time. And so this week I really hit a I don't know, like, it's not like a wall. It definitely isn't a wall, but I hit a moment where I am legit not in a frantic mode anymore, right? I believe that before this, I was like frantically trying to search and frantically trying to grab at everything that I could do because I was legit trying to make this happen. And I know over and over again, y'all hear me say, like, you got to let God do his job. And, this isn't, or wasn't my vision, is his. And you got to do that. And now, and the thing about it, it's great when you say that, but the question is, are you actually doing it? And the reality is that we're not. I ain't, not all the time. I definitely know that, but for the most part, we're not, right? And so next month, for the month of April, I want to talk about surrender, and I really want to talk about what that looks like. And I want to do a series on it, and it's something that God just was like put on my heart that like you have to surrender every part of your life and your business to me in order for me to truly, truly carry it. And so I'm looking forward to that because I definitely have some moments of, testimony where when I really just gave it my all and I surrendered it to him, that he came through. And, I'm still here, right? But today we are going to talk about provision and protection. I wanted to have this conversation because I feel like that when you are walking in purpose and when you are taking that huge leap of faith to step out, like I've talked to so many people and I follow people who are really about empowerment and having people to walk, like just do it, all of those things. One of the things that I feel like that separates me from some people is the fact that I'm still going through, right? And because you're still going through, when you're still growing through it, or you're going through it, you're able to get a different sense of it. In the beginning, I wanted to be done, right? And you're like, oh, I can go back and tell you how it is. But it's a different thing when you're watching somebody go through the process of it. And so for me, when I left my job and in June of 2019, right? I told y'all I literally had no idea what God wanted me to do. I literally took a step and was like, whatever it is, I just can't be doing this too, right? And throughout that time, you've heard me plenty of times on here tell you that I operated in fear. I operated out of order. I was distrustful of what it is that God said he was going to do. And it wasn't until actually this week that I literally had this moment of like, it was like a moment of peace, right? Throughout my lifetime, God has protected me from a rock of stuff, right? Like if you've heard some of the stories on here, y'all know like she did that and she's still here to tell about it. Yes, 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 I am. He has provided in ways that I could not even imagine. And in this area or in this season where I am right now, um, prior to that moment of just like complete clarity, right? I was still worried about what was going to happen, right? I've been listening to Transformation Church and they've been talking about it's a series on paper chasing, and saying, you know, a lot of times we do things for the monetization, we do things for the money. And I can be very honest and say that when I started this journey, I was doing it for the money. I was like, okay, I have to replace my income, right? Because now things that like we gotta do all these things, and even though I'm making this move and my husband is okay with me coming home, like I gotta figure out a way. And so everything that I was doing was like in a frantic, oh, let me get this, 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 as opposed to literally like, again, we'll talk about, you know, next month is surrendering, right? But this week, when I tell you that I had to just like sit down and I had to really reflect on everything that's happened over this last year and a half. Like June will be here before we know it, y'all. Like it is crazy that I feel like we was just in March of 2020 and it's like it's about to be April like this week, right? Um but I had to sit down and really, again, reflect all the things that have happened. And I said, God has continued to provide and to protect. And those are the things that I prayed for in the beginning. Like, okay, God, if you asking me to do this, like you want to show up, right? And a lot of times provision and protection doesn't come in the way that we're used to it looking like, right? What I thought was going to be provision was going to be clients and getting paid and you know, getting, you know, my business just jumping off and booming and all that other stuff. God decided to provide in a different way. And for a while, I did not realize that that was my provision that I was paying for. I was begging for something and I needed, oh God, we need this, we need that. And he was doing it all along. And even with protection, like I want, and when I say protection of like, you know, of course, like keeping my family safe, but like I want to protect what we have, right? I want my kids to be able to still say have the same life. I want, you know, us to still be able to do the things that we did. That is protecting what he'd already given us, right? And here I was trying to control the situation, and he was showing me day after day, week after week, month after month that I got you. I am providing for you. I am putting you in situations where and providing opportunities for your like your family, like, and it didn't have to necessarily come through me, right? There's been opportunities that we've been blessed and it's been like, what, like how did what is going on? Like you find yourself in those moments. And you know, my husband and I were having a conversation and I just was like, we came into this, and especially him, because y'all know he's the money guy, so fearful of what could be. And we are living actual proof, right? That what God says he's going to do, he is going to do it. And even with the kicking and screaming, even with the anxiety, even with the self-doubt, even with the insecurities, even with the questioning and, you know, pausing and then starting over, and even with being out of order, he remained obedient. He remained who he said he was going to be for us, a provider and a protector. And um in knowing that, I literally had to say, what is wrong with you, Felicia, that now that you see that he can do this, that you still are doubting or you're still questioning whether or not he can. And I think what he had to do for me was to be able to put all of that on Front Street for myself, to be able to get me to a place of like, no, we good. Like I've been in places where I'm like, or in situations where I'd be like, okay, you know, God, I need you to help me to get out of this situation and this, that, and the third. And something to happen, but something to happen and it'll come up. In this situation, it's been continuous and it's been a flow, right? And it hasn't been in a situation where we are like, causing like discord or any type of disruption within our family or within, whatever it is that we're doing. And I'm watching how God is using all the people around me, every single person that's connected to me, to be able to help with that flow, right? And when I think about that, and when I really take the time to say, okay, what are you going to do differently? For me, I've said it on here before, and I cannot say honestly that before I was doing it, I probably was like slightly doing it. But this week I did. I released my hands, like fully released my hands. I opened my hands. And I've told you all before that when you are in fight mode or fear mode, your hands are balled up. You cannot receive, nor can you give, right? And so I literally opened my hands and I literally just said, okay, God, whatever it is that you have for me, it doesn't have to be monetary. It could be an opportunity. It could be a platform. It could be an interview. It could be a magazine. It could be my name being in somebody else's room without me even knowing it. I don't know what it is, but my hands are open to receive. And also, my hands are open to give, which means that if someone reaches out to me, or if somebody needs something from me, instead of me being so fearful that of what I have, that I and that's, again, we're not just talking about money here. We're talking about time, we're talking about energy, we're talking about opportunities. Like literally, I'm not saying I'm taking everything, but I'm in the beginning, I would just be like, nah, I can't do it because of blah, blah, blah. Like it would just be a no, like, cause I'm trying to hold on to what I have, versus saying, this has to be a flow, right? And I've gotten to this place not only because of what God has shown me and what He's actually doing, but also because I'm doing the work, right? I am working with a coach, and also doing therapy, and also actually working my own steps, right? And doing my own work that I teach my clients about identifying what it is, how self-doubt shows up in your life, and then acknowledging it and accepting it. And what do you do when those things come up? Like, I'm doing the work for myself because because it literally works, right? And it is, for me, a situation of like, I'm so much at peace that even my coach said, I spoke to her yesterday, and she was like, when we first were talking, she was like, even in your hand movements, it would just be like all over the place, right? And I was like, I'm a hand talker, like I'm a beep, 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 all of that, right? But she was like, it was almost like when you said it, your hands just went out. And I said, yeah, I didn't realize that's what I was doing. But I told her, yes, because my heart is open, right? My hands are open and my heart is open, and I'm ready to be teached. I'm ready to be coached. I'm ready to be to receive whatever it is. And I think that when you're on this journey, you have to be open to all of those things. It is one thing to know that there's an issue, or not even an issue, to know that you want to be able to be the best version of yourself, whatever that looks like. And you really want to walk in purpose, and you really want, God to be able to use you, but you have to be open to it. And I think that that is the part that it sucks, but it also is scary, right? That is the difference between comfortable and uncomfortable. And I've been comfortable for a long time. I've been okay with being right where I am. And God showed me that that's fine. You can be comfortable, but you're not going to be able to do the assignment that I have for you if you stay comfortable. And I know that I'm here, and God gave me this purpose to change lives, to impact lives, to be able to have women have transformations. And I can't do that sitting on the sidelines. So today I really just wanted to encourage you to look over your life and look over whatever this part that the things that you feel like ain't are not really happening. You know what I'm saying? That you like, well, I don't know if he really is providing or if it is protection or whatever have you, and be it and take a like serious inventory of those things and ask yourself, is he not? Is he not providing? Is he not protecting? Is is that not happening? Right? It may not be happening the way you want it to happen, but it's happening. And so what are you waiting for? Because he's showing up. You know, that was where I was at. Like I'm like, God is showing up. He's here. He like, okay, we doing this or what? You know what I mean? You know how you go somewhere with somebody and you about to get started on something and then you like, where they at? Like, what's up? Like you told me to be here at 9 and it's 9:15. Like, what you doing? You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, God, no, I'm here. We're gonna show up at the same time. We're gonna do this together and we gonna make it do what it do. That's what's about to happen. We about to make it do what it do. And I can feel that we are now in alignment, not like I'm doing it with him, right? Like we're in this rhythm of like, okay, and then the next thing and then the next thing. And you have to know yourself, right? I've told y'all I'm a idea to like depending on what it is, especially if I'm super passionate about it, like, okay, let's go. Right. I will think about some things in between and try to get it. And so sometimes that causes a delay, right? And other times it's useful because you need like, oh, okay, so how are we doing this? What is the logistics of all of these things? What is the bop, right? Like what are all the steps? And in some ways I be forgetting about the steps. I just be like, because I'm so frantic about like, oh, let me get to the end, let me get to the end. I just go through and then I miss it. And then this time even with the experience of the group coaching and going through that and realizing that honestly for myself, like I had missed some steps for myself that God was like, okay, I'm proud of you for doing it because you were obedient, but we need to go back because there's some things that I needed you to do, and so this today's conversation was really for you to just take, like I said, to take inventory of what he has done for you and where you are right now. And it may not look like what you think it is supposed to look like, but I can guarantee you it does not look like what it used to. And in that, the difference maker is going to be you. You have to like faith without works is dead, right? We know that. I was having a conversation with my son and he was saying how he was going to be, a multimillionaire or whatever have you. And he's like, I'm like, well, where you going to work? What you going to do? He's like, it's just going to happen. And I had to tell him faith without works is dead. I'm not telling you can't, but Slim, it's not just, it don't do like that. Like you're going to have to do some stuff in between you getting to that point, right? And even people who are multimillionaires, they worked. Like what are we talking about here, right? But it really is I I am just the clarity that I have from just taking some time to be able to reset and really be able to give honor to God for being just who he is in my life and continues to be is definitely something that I needed, and it allowed me to be able to say, okay, how am I going into this next season of my life, because God wants me to do something more. And so yeah, I thank y'all again, as always, for being a part of this journey, because it's definitely a journey, y'all. That is exactly what it is. So that's all I have for today. Until next week. See ya.